In this video, I'll share with you 8 common ADD sleep issues and 5 things that you can do to dramatically improve your sleep if you have ADD. Jump around, jump up and get down. Biggest dork ever. Hey, it's Aron here on Hidden ADD, where you get the tools, insights, and science-backed strategies that you need to live the life of your dreams if you have or might have hidden or non-hyperactive ADD. If it's your first time here, consider joining the 1K club of the channel's first 1,000 subscribers. Did you know that sleep affects almost every key area of our life? From memory to concentration to mood to hunger to problem solving and even to risk of dying early. Given those impairments, we ADDers can't afford to be sleep deprived, and yet sleep is one of the biggest challenge areas for folks with ADD. In this video, I'll share with you 8 common ADD sleep issues according to sleep expert Dr. Michael Breus, and 5 tips to dramatically improve your sleep. And stick around to the end because I'll also share my own personal experience of going to a sleep doctor and the 2 main insights that significantly improved my sleeping. If you've got other good sleep strategies, post them in the comments below for the benefits of all the other viewers. So, 8 common ADD sleep issues according to Dr. Michael Breus, who is a clinical psychologist and also the author of Good Night, the Sleep Doctor's 4-week program to better sleep and better health. He says that adults and children with ADHD are more likely to have trouble relaxing at night, trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, unrefreshing restless sleep, nightmares, insufficient sleep and chronic sleep debt, a sleep disorder called restless leg syndrome, which he says research indicates is up to 44% of the ADD population versus only 10% of the general population. Periodic limb movements in sleep, which research indicates up to 26% of children with ADD versus 1% of the standard population. And number 8 sleep issue, sleep disordered breathing. He says research indicates that the levels can be as high as 50% of children with ADHD versus 22% of the general population of children without ADHD. So the short version is that there are a lot of common sleep issues for folks with ADHD. Gee, thanks, Aron. I already know that. That's why I'm watching this video. So let's talk about 5 recommendations that Dr. Breus shares for dramatically improving your sleep. And then after this, I'll share my own personal experience going to a sleep doctor and the 2 major insights that transform my sleep. Tip number 1, keep a consistent sleep-wake routine. The reason is that regular sleep and wake times strengthen the underlying circadian rhythms that support sleep. Tip number 2, shut down the screens, dim the lights, and engage in quiet activities like reading. The reason is that for most of human evolution, we didn't have electric artificial lights. And so when the sun went down and the amount of light was reduced, that was a cue to our bodies to start winding down. Now, in the age of electricity, we have bright lights well into the evening, and all of these handy devices shine bright blue light into our eyes, telling our brain it's not yet nighttime. So get off your screens before bed, and if you like, consider trying relaxation techniques like meditation, deep breathing, or yoga. Tip number 3, extend the wind down period before bedtime. For neurotypicals, sleep experts recommend starting the wind down process approximately 1 hour before bedtime. Dr. Breus suggests extending that time period to perhaps an hour and a half or 2 hours before bedtime so that you give your overactive mind and or body time to calm the F down. Tip number 4, get plenty of daytime exercise. The only rule against exercise is don't do super vigorous exercise within 4 hours of bedtime because it will interfere with falling asleep. But otherwise, exercise reduces restlessness and hyperactivity, has amazing benefits overall, and has been shown to improve sleep considerably. So get your steps in, or whatever it is that you like to do. Tip number 5, minimize stimulant use, especially after the morning. Dr. Breas recommends restricting your caffeine intake to only the morning hours, avoid nicotine, which is a stimulant, and limit or avoid alcohol because it interrupts your sleep cycle. And finally, Dr. Breas says that you should also consider limiting sugar, which he says can both help stabilize ADD behavior as well as help with sleep. Okay, and now onto my experience. I was blindly unaware of the connection between ADD and sleep troubles, and so at times blamed various things like my girlfriend and now wife's bed was too soft, or she moved too much, or work was more stressful. So after a number of nights sleeping on the couch so that my wife and I could both get a good night's sleep, she suggested I should see a sleep doctor and make sure that there was nothing wrong with me. So I went to see the sleep doctor. They hooked me up with all these electrodes and wires, and then I had to sleep in their really uncomfortable lab, all to be told that I was fine. While I was relieved that there wasn't a disorder at play, I still needed to fix this. #marital harmony. So, I then met with the sleep psychologist in their office, and he did something amazing. Firstly, he gave me a tracking sheet so I could build awareness around these types of key variables. The second thing he did was he asked me about my stimulant use. And what he found was that my stimulant use was way too high in the afternoon to have any decent chance of getting a good night's sleep. Personal share here. Because I was regularly having trouble sleeping at night, I would regularly take sleep aids during the work week. Then I'd wake up groggy and need to take more stimulants to overcome the grogginess, and thus a vicious cycle would start. So that was big insight number 1. After meeting with him, I began front-loading my stimulant use to the earlier part of the day, and that had an instant impact on my ability to both fall asleep and get restful sleep. And then the second big insight came when I met with him again and he was reviewing my time logs, and he said that my asleep and awake times were not consistent enough. Now, I'm not great at following rigid rules, and so I pushed on the sleep psychologist. And I asked 2 important questions that I'll share the answers with you now. The first was, is it more important to go to bed at the same time or wake up at the same time if I had to choose? Do you have a guess at the answer? The answer was to wake up at the same time. What your body does is get really used to, this is when I wake up. It has its own internal clock, and even if you got a little bit less than your desired amount of sleep, when you have that consistent wake time, your body and your mind wake up a lot clearer and fresher. And the second question I pushed him on was, how consistent is consistent? What's my wiggle room? How much can I veer? His response was 30 minutes. I pushed harder and said, what about the weekend and other things? And he said, if you must, you could try to stretch it to 60 minutes, but anything more than that, and you're gonna lose the clarity and the energy benefits that you get from having a reliable wake time that your body can get used to. If you're curious, for me, that range tends to be between 5:30 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. because if you listen to some of my other videos on how to succeed with ADD, you'll know that I use my mornings very strategically. Oh, and one quick bonus tip, just because you made it all the way till the end, high five, is that earlier this year, I used a wearable called Whoop, and I found that that helped keep me on track as well. So which sleep issue can you most relate with? What tips do you have that you've used to get better sleep with ADD? Put them in the comments below for me and for your fellow viewers. And I'll see you in the next video.